Hey there. Good morning from Soggy Trail. I got up extra early this morning and wanted to get out here. I have a couple meetings today and things I have to take care of. And so I figured I would take advantage of a nice early morning hike and get it in before all the craziness began. The only challenge is I didn't realize it doesn't even get light until like 7:45, so I ended up sitting in my car until it got to the point where I could actually see the trail because I didn't have my headlamp with me. But anyway, yesterday I said I was going to talk about kind of the process and some of the obstacles that I went through as we kind of embarked on our journey and since all the big change that happened in 2020. And I would say from early on, from the first time that we began or began our planning in 2019, it was the first time in the history of the organization that we said, all right, as we start this planning, let's put out there what Paul and I want as owners of the company. And it seems weird, but I mean, it oftentimes you're thinking about what you're doing for revenue, what you're doing to get customers and all that stuff. But it was probably the first time that we said, well, from our perspective, what do we want to get? And then let's ladder up all of our planning to that. And so I remember the first thing that I wanted was to be kind of, or in the office less. And it wasn't just physically, I was talking about mentally, because I was easily racking up, 60, 70 hours a week in the office. And I was on 8 boards at the time. So I would have board meetings that would happen during the day or at night. And when you added that on top, it was just ridiculous, 80, 85 hours a week. But it was something I had become accustomed to. So I figured that was okay. But I'd also, it was having its impact on me. And so when I thought about that, or when I made that statement about being in the office less mentally, or not just physically, but mentally, I think I truly meant it on the mental side. And so I think, looking back, I think I was identifying the fact that I needed to transition some of my responsibilities on someone else because the years and years of the intensity at which I approached everything as it related to business was starting to wear me down and wear me out. And quite frankly, I felt as though I wasn't being the best in the relationships that I had, whether it was with my friends, family. Sadly, I hate that. But, I was just getting worn out and frankly needed a break. And, when we started talking about it, I felt a level of excitement, and I felt really comfortable with Amanda and Jeff and the job that they'd done within the business, and I really felt confident in their ability to start to assume some of those responsibilities. Oddly, that went extremely well and really easy because they're really talented. The thing that was the most challenging to me from an obstacle perspective was telling the ego to be quiet, recognizing that if other people don't do things the way you did it, it doesn't mean it's bad. And in fact, it's often better. And I needed to be able to participate more in conversations, discussions, whatever, from more of a listening perspective and more of just asking questions rather than trying to ram it my way and get it done and win. Right? A lot of that has to do with who I am as a human being, but because I do have more of an aggressive personality and I want to go get stuff done. But that that doesn't really serve you well, and it actually cuts off a whole bunch of experience when you don't take the time to listen to other people. and hear their perspective, and not just get all single-minded and tunnel vision, and it's crazy. So anyway, I'm off on a tangent there, but yeah, I knew that there was going to be a lot of challenges, and my goal was, obviously, and this was pre-pandemic, so we didn't know we had that break coming up, but my goal was going to be to actively work on it and just see how it went. Well, when the pandemic started, that was a really interesting time. I still remember I was sitting on the couch getting ready to watch Michigan tip off in the Big Ten conference, or the Big Ten tournament. It was just getting ready to get started, and it was like 15 minutes before the game, and they came on and said that the game had been canceled due to COVID. And then later in the day, they made the decision to cancel the entire tournament. And it was so strange to me. I couldn't even grasp the concept of what was happening. And it was funny because immediately I was just disappointed, because I really was excited for Michigan's chance in the tournament. And then, the NCAA tournament, and oddly, you go to those things that you're familiar with, but yeah, it was just really, really weird. And then I think it was, a couple days later, or the next day, when the governor made the announcement that, Michigan was going to basically go on a lockdown. And that I think at that moment was the most interesting to me, because, I knew from an economic perspective that it was going to be really difficult, because everything was going to stop. Nobody was going to be able to go out in public or anything, and still trying to get your head wrapped around the orders. But I was like, holy cow. And so I'm a super competitive person, but the one thing that popped into my mind is, oh my gosh, not only is there not much we can do other than get the work done that we can do, but our competition is in the exact same boat. And I felt like it was like a leveler of everything, right? Everybody was in the exact same situation, enduring the exact same circumstances, and kind of left on their own to figure out how this new reality was going to be. And initially, I think they were talking about, 2 weeks or 3 weeks it was going to last. But as it went on and on, like, it literally started to become a new reality that we had to deal with. So there was a lot of that just kind of opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. And I would say probably the first 120 days from the point of the lockdown was really when I did the most of my kind of self-examination to be able to reimagine, because, hey, there was a couple different things that were happening, right? Number one, my competition wasn't getting ahead of me because they couldn't do anything. So I didn't have to worry about competition for one of the first times, what felt like one of the first times in my life. We had been working for 18 months toward going fully remote as an organization, and our go live date, or go remote date, was April 1st of 2020. So everybody was paused. We had a legitimate opportunity to be able to be remote and go anywhere we wanted to and work, as long as we had internet in our computers, right? So that was an interesting element. And then after staying in the house and realizing that we're working from a kitchen table every single day, and we could be working from a campground, we could be working from a mountainside as long as they had internet, we could be working from anywhere. Why don't we see what that tastes like? And up until that point, I had never done anything that was very adventurous yet. Some things, but that was like the extreme, to decide to, forget about work and think about doing something personally satisfying out in the world was very uncomfortable, but very exciting. And so anyway, that was a really, there was a lot of interesting things that were happening right then, and I'm not going to go on and on about it. And then right after that, as we started to embark, I mean, I still go back and watch the video that I took of me and Amanda and Oliver as we were leaving the driveway. And our whole deal was we didn't want to tell anybody what we were doing. So we were going to try to keep it quiet and just go through our normal course of business and not say anything. And we almost made it like 3 weeks on the road before we did. But as I think about that, it seemed ridiculous how much of my focus and attention was what other people would think if they knew that we weren't staying in our house and that we were actually out on the road and we're not sitting in an office where you're supposed to be productive and where that business is supposed to be conducted and all of the above, right? So it was like this huge pressure of what other people thought, like that social pressure of what the judgments would be. And yeah, that was really interesting. And then obviously there was a lot of adapting that had happened over the last, but I would say that first 6 months or first 6 months of 2020 were just fascinating. And the process was really, really interesting. And I look forward to sharing a lot more of that stuff. I love, you know, getting this information out of my head and captured somewhere, because I feel like that frees up space and capacity for me to do more and more things that I love and focus my attention, you know, not as I wanted my primary focus and attention to be on creating those experiences with my family and with my friends and doing stuff like that. And if I get this stuff out, I feel like it gives me more capacity and ability and energy to do that. And that's all right in my book. So anyway, that is that. I think the next thing I kind of want to go back a little bit or go ahead in the process instead of meticulously going through each thought that I had over the course of the last few years. But I want to talk about the biggest thing I think that got me excited, focused, and ready to get back at it after 3 years of a lot of resting and relaxation. But I'll talk about that tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'm going to continue to live my life a brand new way that I love. See ya.